All right, we'll call to order the regular meeting of the Chisholm City Council for May 27th, 2020. Good evening, everyone out there, council, people listening at home. Do a roll call, Margaret, please.
Councillor Lance.
Here.
Councillor Fountain.
Here.
Councillor Bakke.
Here.
Councillor Varda.
Present.
Councillor Campbell.
Here.
Mayor Champa.
Here. Adopt the agenda. I don't see any changes or corrections. Bill, there wasn't anything at the last second, was there?
No, Mayor.
Okay,
Hold on, I do have one thing. Shannon Roach called me right before the meeting, and she wants us to take off the raffle.
Under Vern?
The gambling permit under Vern. She's going to move it back to the fall.
All right, a motion to accept the agenda with the one removal, please.
I'll make that motion to accept the agenda with that one removal.
Is there a second? Second by Councillor Fountain, motion made by Councillor Campbell. Any other discussion? Margaret, could you take a vote, please?
Councillor Lance.
Aye.
Councillor Fountain.
Aye.
Councillor Bakke.
Aye.
Councillor Varda.
Aye.
Councillor Campbell.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the
and to the republic
for which
for
it
which it stands,
one
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with liberty and justice for all.
Public participation, nothing, Bill?
Nothing, Mayor.
I'm going to just take a second to mention, today I did get a call. The person was going to sign up for public participation, and Bill had been working with getting her an invite out to try to see how that's all going to work. I did contact her. I just want to, this is informational on her behalf, and then I'm going to call her back tomorrow. But she was calling because she had heard that 4th Avenue was going to get milled and overlaid. And her concern was that she's selling a home that she has on that street this summer to her daughter. And she had called the city, and because of our kind of scaled back operation and lockdown and separation from our residents as much as we can to keep our employees well, we're not doing inspections of sewer laterals, and she kind of hit a dead end. She didn't know where to go. So I informed her that there are private companies that that also do this, and we reviewed a tape anyway, and I asked Mandy to provide me with some people in town that do that, so I was going to let her know. But for anybody else, especially on 4th Avenue, if you have that coming up in the future, we would certainly prefer that you did it before we got a brand new coating on the road, so that we don't have a brand new sewer dig there right after we get done. So just informational, but there are other places. It's not just the city that does it. So we'll move on to the report portion. Just a reminder, if you're not speaking, try to keep your mic turned off. Just moving your chair and stuff, you pop on and it cuts into the person speaking. So we'll start with the council reports. Let's start over with Mr. Varda first today.
No report, Mayor.
Councillor Lance. Oh, wait. Oh, Councillor Fountain, I'm sorry. Jumping around tonight.
That's all right. No formal report, Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Bakke.
Just a quick thank you to the police and fire for continuing to do the drive-by birthdays. I know that kids are stoked when that happens. I watched one on Facebook the other day, so appreciate that you do that for them. We got graduation coming up on Friday. We're having a little parade for the seniors, so you can watch. I believe the police, fire, and ambulance are involved in that too, to some extent. So that's coming up on Friday. I think it starts at 5:30. if I'm not mistaken. A thank you to Bill also, because I know his plate is full, working hard for us. So I just want to show my appreciation to him, as always, for keeping our city running. And then lastly, I filed for re-election today. So I'm ready to go for another term. So that's all I got.
Travis, I'll just follow up on that parade. Yeah, you're right. It starts at 5:30. They're going to come down out of the museum parking lot. They're going to go down the main street until they hit First Avenue by the Freedom gas station, First National Bank, Valentini's area. They're going to take a left on First Avenue. They're going to go all the way down to 8th Street. They're going to go east on 8th Street over to the lake park, for lack of a better name for it. They're apparently they're going to then go towards the Vaughan and make the circle around the little Vaughan circle that the buses drop kids off. Then they're going to go back to the lake park, continue around the north end of the lake, come up the main street, and I think they're just going to basically take Highway 73 all the way over to the Discovery Center. I think that's it, and get there for their commencement at 7 o'clock. Councillor Lance report tonight. Whoops, I skipped Campbell. Let's go back to Tracy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick one. I will not be running for re-election, so my seats will be open. I know there's 3 seats open, Councillor Varda's, Councillor Vaki's, and mine. I encourage everybody, that wants to try to make a difference in our community to step up and file. It's a good learning experience, and you meet a lot of great people, and you learn a lot about inner city government works. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Tracy. Councillor Lance, we're finally to you.
No time. Get me excited. No formal report. I just like to thank Councilors Varda and Campbell for everything they've done over the past 8 years. And Baki, good luck to you coming up. And stay safe, everybody.
Thank you. Let me just mention a couple of things here that come out of some of my meetings. Flushable wipes, that's always a hot button topic with the waste treatment plant. Those things plug everything up when you're flushing the disposable wipes. I call them flushable wipes. Yeah, I think they're called, you're supposed to throw them in the garbage, not throw them in the toilet. Demo cans, the city does deliver demo cans both for household or for demo to the, if you're cleaning out areas and you need a 300-gallon can, City Hall can talk to you about prices. Just call 254-7900 and you'll find somebody up there that'll tell you prices on that, but they're pretty reasonable. I use them quite a bit. Seniors, just congratulations to them coming on their graduation. The parents actually reached out to me to see if we could do the escort, and of course we would do that as a city. That's, those are our graduates, so I would always say yes to that one. For God's sakes, we're doing them for birthday parties and everything else. So we certainly can do it for our seniors. They asked about putting signs out on the causeway as they come across, and all that's good stuff. So wish them all the best. Been a tough year for them too. Especially, if you can remember back to when you're seniors, it was really a big point in your life when you're finally done after all them years. So anybody have any comments before I move on? All right, Mandy, building official, report tonight.
No formal report, Mayor. I do have my IRRB resolution on the agenda for approval for the demo grant. If anyone has any questions.
Okay, we'll move on. City engineer, report tonight, Jim.
Just a quick update on our 2 projects that we've got going right now. The first one is our 4th Avenue reconditioning, or that mill and overlay, as well as the repaving of the pickleball court. The contractor was in last week, removed the frames and castings off the various storm sewer and sanitary manholes. They're looking at coming in with a milling machine either the end of this week and or the first of next week. Then our city crew, public works crews are going to work on repairing, rehabilitating a couple of the structures, as well as doing some sanitary sewer spot repairs. And then we're looking at getting 4th Avenue repaved, probably the latter third, somewhere around June 20th to the 1st of July, depending when the city crews get done. But hopefully by the end of June, we'll have that repaved. The other project is our water main looping for our public safety building. The contractor was, I think, putting up silt fence today. They're planning to start the water main construction tomorrow, starting right down at County Road 67 and Rail Drive, or our 4th Avenue and Rail Drive. Figure it'll take about 2 weeks to do the water main, and then they'll do the sanitary sewer replacement between that public works storage building and the lake thereafter. So again, probably by the end of June, that project should be finished up. That's all I've got for right now.
Thank you, Jim. Council, any questions for Jim on that stuff? Larry, Public Works Supervisor.
Hi, councilors, Mayor Ciampa and Administrator Manny. I just have a couple updates. Just to follow up on Jim there, I just got a text, and the milling machine might be here tonight or tomorrow on the 4th Avenue project. And they're planning to work through Saturday already. So it's going to be busy. We got approved for the $6,000 grant that Tammy and I put together and council approved for the little multi-purpose trail through our new campground up to the parking lots. So I will work with the Iron Range Trails course on that. So we'll get that done this summer. I already requested a quote for the pavement from KGM since they'll be in town. And if we can get that unit price that we bid on that big 4th Avenue project in the pickleball, we won't have to bid it out. So that'll make it a lot easier. LED lighting at the cemetery was complete just in time for Memorial weekend. And it's been a couple of years, I understand, that the flag hasn't been lit at the memorial, or at the veteran memorial there. So that was done, and we got a couple compliments on that. Hope all of you got to enjoy the cemetery. It was in pretty good shape for the holiday. Iron Man LED project is next. We have the lamps, and we're just waiting on the electrician, and we'll work on that together and get that done. The campground's coming along. Besides the fire pits that I have on the agenda for you, we have our first load of firewood coming tomorrow afternoon, and we have new totes to deliver firewood up there and start that revenue stream coming. The flags, good news about the flags. I continue to be surprised once in a while how much passion there is for the flags on the Bridge of Peace there. I received at least a dozen calls on Thursday and Friday each probably about the flags. Where are the flags? Where are the flags? The supply chain was broken is the simple answer because of the COVID-19. His manufacturers weren't essential business or however, and the vendors were unable to get the flags from the manufacturers. But we're back on track. They have shipped, and hopefully by the end of next week, everyone will see the rest of the flags up. And lastly, what I have on my notes here, besides your questions, is everyone should have seen the informational notice that was sent with their May utility billing. And next, with the June billing, will be select your cart. And as most of you all know, that you'll be receiving an individual garbage can. We're hoping before the snow flies, and in October or November for sure. That supply chain that I just spoke about is a little bit of a factor. But you will see the select your cart in your June utility billing. The default size will be the 96 gallon. And that is what you'll see around town at the parks, and some residences already have them. That's what you'll see around town is the 96. And there's also an option for 65 gallon, which is a third less. They are both viewable at City Hall. I intend to put them outside now. And even though most of you don't visit City Hall, you'll still be able to swing by there and see the two different sizes in the parking lot. And truly, if you just remember that the 96 are the ones that you'll see around now, that'll be your average or your base. So that's all I have on my list to update you on.
Council, any questions for Larry?
Mayor, I have a question for Larry.
Go ahead, Jim.
Hi, Larry. How are you?
Good, thanks, Jim.
Good. So is that 96? Is that going to be the one that people get if they don't respond?
That's correct. Yep, that's the default. So if you do nothing, that's what you'll be given. And I guess I would ask, I guess we don't have the rates yet. I think Administrator Manny and I and Denise are meeting on Friday to kind of confirm the rates. So I don't want to share the rates right now, although there has been some early numbers out there. I can give you those numbers if Administrator Manny feels I should. Otherwise, but that you're correct. That is the default, Councilor Varda.
Okay, thank you.
Larry, just one thing that you made me think of while you're talking, not really in your department, but a city thing, and that's that our fountain that the veterans take care of out on the island was all refurbished this week, and I believe it's all up and running correctly. So I haven't been by there at nighttime yet, but I've seen some pictures and it looks nice.
Absolutely. I've seen the same thing. I was surprised because I never really heard about it. They took it amongst themselves, and like I said, I didn't know anything. It was just a great thing to see on Facebook. It was awesome. So.
All right, we'll move on. Fire Chief, good evening, Bob.
Good afternoon. Excuse me. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, Council members, City Administrator, City Attorney, fellow supervisors, the public. Still participating in the Monday, Friday calls we get from the State Emergency Operations Center, and also we're getting weekly calls from the Fire Marshal, Jim Smith. Been sharing that information with the appropriate supervisors and some of the openings. I sent most of you an email tonight prior to the meeting here from the League of Minnesota Cities. I don't know if you get it. They have a lot of good information there on whether it's sporting events or restaurants or all those kinds of things, but some of those guidelines. Last weekend, 16th, 17th, we had a garage fire. Initially, it was a small contents fire. The department responded to 8:30ish at night or thereabout, and extinguished it, helped the resident. They were able to get the vehicle out. And then about 5 to 6 hours later, we get called back to that fire with a large, fully involved building. After working with the investigator, initially we had some questions because the property owner put everything back into the building, and thought, well, what are we doing here and stuff? And after all the interviews are done with the neighbors and the property owner, all the stories were the same. They put everything back in that garage and closed the door to prevent any vandalism. And working with the investigator, and this was new for us, he had a battery-operated lawnmower, and also all of us have a lot of battery-operated equipment. These ion batteries, if they're exposed to an extreme amount of heat, they have the potential of explosion. He's ruling the fire undetermined, but they study fire patterns and can see where this fire rekindled very high up with the potential. That was what he's figuring is from one of those batteries. So, working with the property owners in the area, providing them with the information they need to get insurance covers and that. And we discussed open burning and be working with Vern on that. The most important thing I want to pass to the public is to keep, if you have any open burning done, is to please keep it attended. 2 years ago, we had an 18-month-old that fell into a fire pit in northwest side of town. So it's always very irritating when we see those issues. Vern, Chief Manor, their staff handles a lot of smoke issues and stuff, so we'll keep you rest. Not that we don't want people burning, but to be considerate with your neighborhood. I'd like to thank Mr. Falstad, helping his staff, got all of our equipment DOT'd. Also, one of our bigger water trucks, Tender 2, helping us out getting a tire. We had some issues with that. Also getting that ATV ordered for us, so thank you. Be working with the agenda item. I think Administrator Manny's put a lot of work into it. I can give you some of the easy costs, but he's done some work, and we'll talk more about that as far as increasing the cost for fire protection for the unorganized brown community. And we've been participating in the drive-bys, and we'll be working with the police department ambulance service on Friday night to help escort our graduation class. And I know Chief Manor also has the State Patrol helping with that too, so we can get everybody safely across that highway into Discovery Center. Any questions for the fire department?
Council? Bob, are you going to be, is your crew going to be involved in the Redhead Bike Park meeting going on up there? I think it's the 6th or something like that.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Go through some of the emergency stuff. Good.
Yes, both fire and ambulance.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Library, Katie, report tonight.
Yep, I'll keep it brief. Good evening, everyone. We officially started curbside service today. We had 13 patrons stop by, and they were all extremely thankful that we were offering these services, so that was exciting. So if anybody is watching from home, patrons are going to be able to put requests on items through an app called BookMine, and that's spelled Book, M-Y-N-E. They can also utilize our online catalog or just give us a call if they have requests. And as word gets out and we start picking up momentum, we just appreciate everyone's patience as we start navigating this new service. Any questions for me?
Council, questions? Thank you, Katie.
All right.
Police chief is out. Thoughts and prayers with his family. Sounds like they had a death in the family. Rec Director Tammy, report tonight.
Just a short one. Hello, everyone, Mayor, Council. Let's see, youth soccer has been canceled, so we're in the process of returning all of those fees. That's managed by the Hitting Chisholm Soccer Board. Little League, T-ball and transition has been canceled. Am I getting that? T-ball and transition has been canceled. They're still waiting on minors and majors to see if we can still play some games later. A new water heater is going to be installed at the Butcher Ball building, so if we do run, we'll have proper facilities for them there. Still undecided on the summer rec program. One issue with me is the bathrooms. There's one girl's stall and one boy's stall, and just to filter that many kids through that program, and everything I'm reading at this point, it should be pods of 10. You shouldn't be intermingling, and a whole gamut of things, but I won't go on and on about that. In the event we don't have rec, I've been thinking of other ways to serve our community, and I was kind of toying with the idea of maybe having a movie night, during movie night, possibly at the football stadium. I know Kids Plus has equipment, I think, for that, and maybe they'd like to partner. I put an email out, but I haven't heard back. But it was just a thought. I don't know how the council feels about that. And as far as our parks and our playgrounds, we did put some new temporary signage up, and we ordered new signs that'll be more permanent, and those should be arriving within the next week, and those will be installed by the Public Works Department. I think that's it, unless you have any questions.
Council, questions for Tammy? Thank you. City Attorney, Brian, report tonight at all?
Thank you, Mayor. No formal report, but I am happy to answer questions. Otherwise, I've got a little on the agenda.
Brian, any feedback on departure dates for our tenants in the basement of City Hall at all?
I have received no update, but I can reach out to them tomorrow morning.
All right. Before next meeting would be nice.
Very good.
I know they're, with everything going on, tough to get trucking companies and everything, so. City Administrator Bill, report tonight?
Mr. Mayor, no report other than what I have on the agenda. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Council, questions for Bill? Bill, I have just one that it actually pertains to the next item on the consent agenda. Is there a way we could, Eileen goes through all the bills and get some, hold on. Eileen goes through the bills and gets them all ready to go, I think typically before a council meeting. Is there any way possible that we could get those 2 single sheets with them all listed on so the council could see them?
Sure.
You know, I think it'd be good to see them. We approved the bills and we don't, you know, it's hard to, you know, we really don't see them right now. Sure. Hold on a second. I don't really have the option of. I'm gonna have to move my phone to the other room if it keeps ringing. I don't know. I can't shut the volume off on it. Council, anything else for Bill? Okay, we'll move on. The consent agenda. List of bills, communications, which are the Airport Authority minutes, Public Utility Commission minutes, minutes of previous City Council meeting, the May 5th, 2020 working session, May 13, 2020, the regular meeting, payroll and overtime. Can I get a motion to accept consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Lance, second.
Second.
Councilor Varda? Sounded like. Any other discussion? Margaret, could you take a vote to accept the consent agenda, please?
Councilor Lance.
Aye.
Councilor Fountain.
Aye.
Councilor Baki.
Aye.
Councilor Varda.
Aye.
Councilor Campbell.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. The motion passes. New business, resolution 0520-42, apply and accept Iron Range Resources demolition grant. Mandy?
Mayor and members of council, I'm just asking for approval of the resolution to accept funds from the IRRB Residential Redevelopment Program. I'm going to use the funds to demolish 5 dilapidated garages and sheds within the community that will remove blight. I did send out 4 bids. I received 4 bids back. The low bid was Northland Demolition, coming in at $11,600. So I would like to award the bid to Northland Demolition and accept approval of the resolution to move forward with applying for the grant.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Campbell.
I'll move resolution 0520-42, resolution authorizing the city of Chisholm to make application to and accept funds from the IRRB Residential Redevelopment Grant Program for the amount of $11,600 for Northland Demolition.
Mandy, do we need to add to Tracy's resolution or to her motion to adopt a resolution and accept that little bit, or should we take it up as a separate item? Maybe this is a question for Brian.
Brian, what do you think? I need the resolution to apply for the grant. I'm sure that it wouldn't matter either way to them if the low bid was on it. It might actually even be helpful to have in the resolution. I don't know, Brian, can we approve both with one motion, or should we do it separately?
Typically, I would suggest for this, we would do it separately.
Okay.
So second for Councilor Campbell's motion to adopt resolution 0520-42.
Second.
Second by Councilor Lance, was that?
Baki.
Baki. Any other discussion on that portion? Margaret, could you take a vote, please, on the resolution?
Councilor Lance.
Aye.
Councilor Fountain.
Aye.
Councilor Baki.
Aye.
Councilor Varda.
Aye.
Councilor Campbell.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes. Mandy, how many, you got 3 bids back?
I got 4 bids back. Would you like me? I didn't get them back before it was time for council agenda items to submit. I can go down the list for them if you'd like.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Can we do that? Because we already approved the agenda as is without any additions.
Mandy, how long does this whole operation take? When do you think you'll have the funds?
I will have the funds probably within a couple weeks, and we can also approve the low bid when I come back to approve the grant agreement itself.
Yeah, let's do that at the next meeting then. That'll work?
That sounds good, yes. That's
Okay,
that's normally how I do it, because I get the resolution first.
Okay, we'll move on. Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you.
Larry, fire rings for the campground.
All right, Council, again, thank you. My lone thing on the agenda tonight would be those fire rings. I think it was almost talked about from day one that we're in need of those. If you support and agree, it pains me to bring these things to you that aren't budgeted for, but you know, nothing's budgeted for at the campground right now. If I could get back to it here, I would recommend, although it's the highest, these are, I didn't quote out, say, all over, because these are state contract bid. These are what the state parks and trails uses throughout the state of Minnesota. This manufacturer, they're in Iowa. They're local. They are, if you've seen any of the YouTube clip, I shared their link, and they seem pretty dependable, or they seem like the best ones out there. That's why the state of Minnesota uses them, I guess. Any other comments besides, we currently have just about 40 or more sites, and we intend to add another 8 eventually once the trailer houses and those other trailers there are moved. So at a one-time shot, and to have a little stock, I guess I would recommend the 50, but I would also think 40 today would get us by until we add those spots. But it's totally up to the council what you choose. There's a quote for 30, which would be a bare minimum. I feel like other sites would be like, well, where's ours? And then to the 40, which would almost get us by today, and then 50, which I think would get us into our additional sites as well. On page 23 in your pack.
On the fire side, the fire rings that you picked out look very nice. On a user side, they also have worked very well in some of the campgrounds that I've been in, so I like the style very much.
I appreciate that, Bob. We kind of went with it. They did have a style that swung out, but it didn't have an adjustable grate. Well, here you have, you know, your hot dogs and burgers, different was the thought. And, you know, I do see people using them when I go places too, so I appreciate the feedback there, Bob.
Very nice.
Yeah, this first year we're kind of ad-libbing it here because we don't know what we're going to need, but that item was one that I immediately noticed that the ones that are up there are dangerous. There's some rims from tractors and whatnot, makeshift out of rocks, and this kind of goes along with the thing a little bit down our agenda about putting together a committee to talk about everything up there, but I'd recommend we do this and get this one squared away. This is one of the 2 or 3 things that I felt was kind of an emergency right away that we should be looking at for safety's sake.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
Will we want to do the 50 then? Because I'll make a motion to move to purchase the 50 to give us 8 extra.
Second.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea because we're going to be trying to find extra ones if we don't. So, motion was made by Councilor Campbell and seconded by Councilor Fountain. Further discussion on that item? All in favor? Margaret, could you take a vote, please?
Councilor Lance.
Aye.
Councilor Fountain.
Aye.
Councilor Vaki.
Aye.
Councilor Varda.
Aye.
Councilor Campbell.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. All right, that motion passes. Thank you. Larry.
Thank you.
Jim Johnson, resolution 0520-43 chip sealing agreement.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. On page 31, you have the resolution. authorizing the city to enter into the cooperative agreement. That agreement is in the following couple pages. It's their standard format. We had a similar resolution several months ago for the crack sealing program. This is the chip sealing, which is where they put down the tar and the gravel to rejuvenate the bituminous and provide a little more friction on it. As you see on page 32, first page of the agreement, what our priorities are. Priority number 1 is 6th Street Southwest from 4th Avenue Southwest over to County Road 67 or 4th Avenue Southeast. And then the second priority is in the 2nd Street, 1st Street, Central Avenue area in the easterly area, the downtown area. It's a very cost-effective program for us. We get the benefits of the county putting together plans and specifications, doing the bidding and doing the inspection of it. And as you see on number 12 on page 33, our cost is $750. Larry and I put together these priorities, and the council had authorized a budget of $50,000, which we're using for both the crack sealing, where we're going to use about $15,000, and then this chip sealing program, we're anticipating about $35,000. With that, I would recommend adoption of that resolution. Would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion for resolution number 0520-43.
Support. Motion is made to adopt the resolution by Councilor Fountain, second by Councilor Vaki. Further discussion? Margaret, could you take a vote, please?
Councilor Lance?
Aye.
Councilor Fountain?
Aye.
Councilor Vaki?
Aye.
Councilor Varda?
Aye.
Councilor Campbell?
Aye.
Mayor Champlin?
Aye. The motion passes. Jim, next on JPJ, Incorporate Professional Services Agreement for the Public Safety Building Water Main Loop Project.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. On pages 37 through 39, you see the proposal we received from JPJ. They were the designers of this particular project. This particular portion of the project is for the construction services, which consist of the project management, construction management, staking, as well as the inspection or on-site observation. On pages 37 and 38, you see the tasks that are included within this, and then at the bottom of page 38, they list the fees. The fees total $55,150, but it's an hourly cost basis, so they get paid for the actual hours they work at an hourly rate, with this $55,150 being a maximum cost not to exceed. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions, but would recommend approval.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Campbell.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the professional service agreement with JPJ to provide construction management, surveying, and inspection services for the public safety building, water main loop, and sanitary sewer replacement project. The maximum cost not to exceed $55,150. Okay.
Okay, is there a second for that?
Support.
Motion made by Councilor Campbell, second by Councilor Lance. Further discussion?
Hey Jim, is this the same? Was JPJ the engineering firm on the 8th Street project?
No, that was SEH.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Margaret, could you take a vote, please?
Councilor Lance?
Aye.
Councilor Fountain?
Aye.
Councilor Vaki?
Aye.
Councilor Varda?
Aye.
Councilor Campbell?
Aye.
Mayor Champlin?
Aye. Okay, that motion passes. Next item, Redhead Mountain Bike Park Trail leases. Let me start with this and then I'll turn it over to Attorney Lindsay. After our last meeting, actually last week, I believe it was, our city foreman supervisor, Larry Folstead, called me and told me that he was contacted by the project coordinator, basically Jim Plummer, that there was some problem with the leases with regard to ATVs moving through that area so they could get between Hibbing and Chisholm. Some of us are late to the party here because we're new on this council. Project had started before we did. But going back to well into Mayor Raha's term, and it was agreed upon that there was going to be some corridor left for the ATVs to get through there. Turns out there might be a problem with that. They do need that corridor. As you may remember, we applied and received a grant from Iron Range Resources for the extension, or they did for the extension of that trail to Hibbing. Bar Engineering is actually working with the ATV Club to put the trail around the east side of the pit, but that project could take a couple of years. And they need to have access through that project while we're moving forward. With that, I asked Attorney Lindsay to reach out to Iron Range Resources attorney and bring us some ideas on what could be done there to make this a good marriage all the way around. So with that, I'll just turn it over to Brian. I think he has some ideas for us.
And I did reach out and I spoke with Mr. Betchka over at the IRRB. He and I had a discussion not just about ATVs, but about additional recreational activities that potentially could be located in the area of that bike park. Pursuant to that ground lease, we've actually got access to a fair amount of property there. And I know there has been some interest expressed about other potential activities, such as maybe bringing kayaking down into the pit, or some camping or some other things. And the way the lease is written and currently exists, there's two subdivisions that could create some minor issues for us. Fortunately, in the conversations that I've had, it sounds like everybody would be pretty open to considering something if we brought it back. And so the guidance that I'm looking for is whether I would be authorized to try and loosen up, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, the language of those ground leases to provide us with the opportunity to expand our use out there, so long as it's both compatible with the bike park and kind of fits the character of the property we've got out there.
Council, with that said, like I said, I want that bike park to open up on June 12th like it's supposed to. To me, this is a big one because the ATV's been going through there for years, and we're the sponsor city for them, and I think we need to make sure they have access through there. If you spoke to ATVers, they would prefer to go around the east side as well, but there's a number of additional land leases that are going to have to take place, and that is a parallel project. And should it finally be completed, I would believe we'd want to move it over there as soon as possible. But in the meantime, I believe this would be the right thing to do.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Campbell.
So you're looking for someone to make a motion to authorize Attorney Lindsay to loosen the language to allow for different ground movement? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, additional recreation, types of recreation in that area, which he believes would allow us the latitude to allow the ATVs through there until we can come up with option B, which is that trail around the pit.
Yeah,
and
that was a major thing. I know that was the only way we were going to allow this bike project to even happen, is if we allow the ATV club access somehow. So we got to keep that in mind. That was always the main thing. So I'll make a motion to authorize it. Authorize Attorney Lindsay to loosen the language to allow additional recreational activities to take place.
Seconded by Councilor Fountain. Brian, would that be the correct motion to make?
Yeah, it would, Mayor. Essentially, what that would allow me to do is I could then work with Administrator Manning, get some language together, and essentially make a proposal to the IRRB, who is kind of working with us on this project and signs off on behalf of the state for those land leases. And if they agree with the language that we propose, it could actually go pretty quickly, and it would just be a slight amendment to sections 2.1 and 2.3 of the existing ground leases.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep, that would be the motion.
I understand that government takes time to get things done, and they got to have time to look at it too. But yeah, I'm really uncomfortable opening that park without it in place. But yeah, if you're comfortable, let's move in the right direction by June 12th. We don't need to look back. So we got a motion and support. If there's no further discussion.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that, I know one of the main things is to help our four-wheelers go through there, but something that can't get lost in the shuffle is, and I know Councilor Bakke has expressed interest, but, if we're going to open this area up, I would definitely like to see people with the ability to walk back there and get to the pit and jump in the, water and go swim. So, is that something that we're going to include in there? And on top of that, for Brian, for our insurance is kind of garnered to, I guess, when it comes to the trail, where, as long as we're not charging people, they're kind of doing this activity at their own risk. Would that cover somebody who's walking out there and, getting a kayak back there to go swimming? Is our, if they slip and fall and hurt themselves, does our insurance help, and cover that, cover us?
So I won't be an attorney in this, but yeah, he is trying to open up the latitude for us to allow other recreational activities. But working with our partners, Iron Range Resources, I think each of those additional activities are going to have to be discussed prior. But Brian can answer the whole liability thing as part of it as well, if you'd like, Brian.
Thank you, Mayor. And so I anticipate that getting the language together. Is that any better?
It is now, yeah.
So I anticipate that the amendment could be as simple as adding some language that will be granted the possession of the property to operate the mountain bike park and additional recreational activities or compatible additional recreational activities. Speaking to the insurance question, there's two separate issues at play here. In any event where we're maintaining a recreational trail for riding bikes or walking or something like that, so long as we don't charge for it, there's a statute out there that provides some particular immunities that protect us. We do have a policy of insurance through the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust, and that policy of insurance would cover us on all of our other activities.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
What is the problem for Plummer and the bike guys with the ATV trail now? Did they tell you what the problem was? Because
yeah, I think I got a pretty good grasp on it. They don't want the ATVs driving right through the middle of their bike park, and I'm not against that. To be honest with you, I don't either. The problem is I don't really want to cut off the ATVers. Like I said, we have some concerns about these other these other landowners and stuff going around that east side, and I don't want to find out that it's going to be 10 years before the ATVers that get through. So, yeah, they would like to have it be their park, and it's their own little thing down there, and they're doing a lot of the taking care of it, the IROC group and stuff, and I would like that for them as well to, have not have motorized vehicles in there. So, but unfortunately, we have to kind of split the difference here in the meantime. And I just want to make sure that I just want to be clear that I'm, trying to support both groups here, as well as if there's some other things we might do in the future. So, they're not really against ATVs. They're just trying to keep it separate. I guess I can understand it, but. but right now, I don't think we have that option, and it was brought up right from day one that we have to allow ATVs through there until we come up with Plan B. So,
I mean, maybe Councilor Campbell can remember this too, but I'm pretty sure that they had a plan on the west side of the pit for ATVs to go through a year ago.
I don't remember if it was the west side or the east side, but all I know is that we wanted them to have access so they could get to Hibbing, and that they were supposed to work with the ATV club to figure that out. And that's the only way we were going to pass that. And we passed it with them knowing that.
Yeah. So I say if they don't change it by June 12th, we don't open the park June 12th. Period.
Well, I'm in agreement with that as well. The problem is it might have something to do with those leases where we have to try to get them. Well, Brian knows we're trying to get it done as soon as we can. So hopefully by our next meeting, we'll know more. But yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, and like I said, the ATV club is actively working with Bar Engineering to get that trail built on the east side. It ain't happening by June 12th. So that's the whole reason for this motion. That we need to do. Yes, Councilor.
Larry Falstad, you were involved in some of those meetings at the early onset of this, weren't you?
Yeah,
With,
that was
Mayor
there.
Raha?
Yeah, I was back all the way in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is something that we wanted all along, so.
Yeah, and basically what I'm gathering, it was just missed in the lease language, and so Brian is, I think Brian's really zoned in on that and what the
Okay. Perfect.
There's nothing else, Margaret, take a vote.
Councilor Lance.
Aye.
Councilor Fountain.
Aye.
Councilor Vaki.
Aye.
Councilor Varda.
Aye.
Councilor Campbell.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes, and Councilor Varda can never say he voted no every time on the redhead. All right.
That was a vote for Brian Lindsay, not the redhead.
Administrator, Bill, Resolution 0520-41.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm recommending approval of Resolution 0520-41, which authorizes the city of Chisholm to make application to and accept funds from the IRRR under the fiscal year 20 Development Infrastructure Grant Program for the Aspen Grove Assisted Living Expansion Project. I'd like to thank Chris Ismail from the IRRB, the Garganos from Aspen Grove for the help and support they gave in getting this application submitted. The amount requested is $250,000 with an estimated project cost of $2,432,000. The amount requested will be used for water, sewer, storm sewer, road pavement, and electrical infrastructure.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor.
I would like to make a motion for resolution number 0520-41.
Okay, motion was made by Councilor Fountain. Second for that.
Aye.
Second by Councilor Campbell. Further discussion? It's quite a sizable project considering that's what's going to be on our piece of property we gave them the last time for $1. So that's nice. I would never realize that the amount of $250,000 they could actually possibly get towards that. That's nice. Margaret, could you take a vote, please, if there's no other discussion?
Councilor Lance.
Aye.
Councilor Fountain.
Aye.
Councilor Vaki.
Aye.
Councilor Varda.
Aye.
Councilor Campbell.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes. Bill, St. Louis County Fire Protection Agreement for Unorganized Township, 59-21.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, just a brief history. I went back to 2013 in the records. In 2013, we charged $14,712. In 2014, that increased to $15,006, which is a 2% increase. It stayed the same for 2015. Then in 2016, it increased to $15,156, which is a 1% increase. And it stayed the same for 2017. And then it increased in 2018 to $15,459, which is the current rate we charged. That increase was another 2%, and it's been the same for 19 and 20, and now our recommendation has to be to St. Louis County by June 1st. And so my recommendation, after going through and looking at it and talking to Chief Brown about some of the costs, and Chief Brown had mentioned that some of these foam canisters and the like that are used out in the unorganized township, the significant price increase. And looking back at the history, we've been in a 1 to 2% increase, but the fact that we haven't increased the rate in 3 years, I looked at the consumer price index increases over that period, and if you take 2018, 2019, the last two completed years, 2018 there was a 2.4% increase, and 2019 a 1.8. So adding those two together is a 4.2% increase, and hence my recommendation that's in your packet to increase to $16,108 from the current charge of $15,459. That'll entertain any questions.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Mayor,
Counselor.
I'll make that recommendation that we change that to, increase it to $16,108.
Okay, motion by Counselor Campbell, supported by Counselor Lance. Further discussion? Margaret, could you take a vote, please?
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Counselor Varda.
Aye.
Counselor Campbell.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes. Public safety facility update. Bill, you can start. I'll fill in any blanks I think we missed.
Sure. Strictly informational. A meeting or so ago, Councilor Lance, and rightly so, asked for an update on where we are with the project, some facts and figures, and it was right during the time that we had found out that there were the footings under the existing or the former wastewater treatment plant that would have to come out, which was part of the project. We were working, and when I say we, it was owner's rep Scott Sasala, Mayor Champa, and myself were in conversations with Mike Clark from Five Bugles on some value engineering and looking at any and everything that could be done to reduce the preliminary costs of the building. And so a couple Fridays ago, Mike Clark had promised to provide us with some updated information. There was going to be a cover letter and the current pricing where everything was. He was going to get that to me by the end of the day on Friday. He called me Friday morning and mentioned that unfortunately that morning he was laid off by Five Bugles, and that I'd be getting a call in the afternoon from his supervisor, and that he was unable to provide the information that he had promised. He apologized for that. So that afternoon I received a call from Mike Clark's boss, who has been with Five Bugles since their inception. First name is Robert, last name I'm not even going to try to pronounce. The only name I've ever seen that has two Z's in his last name. But had a good conversation with him. We set up a Zoom meeting that we had last Thursday with Mayor Champa, owner's rep Sasala, myself, Robert, and those of you that are familiar with the project, Laura, who's been involved with the project, is still there. So we updated 5 bugles. Robert wanted to know where we were with the project. I told him that we were promised some information in what we were looking at with the value engineered items, the fact that those foundations were in the ground. I give Jim Johnson credit. Jim's opinion was that we should really take a look if that building can move 125 feet to the east. It gets off of those footings. It could save literally possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars if that building could move 125 feet to the north and so many feet to the east. And he did a conceptual drawing and overlay with 3 options for the parking lot if that building were to move, because one of the concerns was to have the proper radius for the fire trucks to enter the building. And so I sent all that information after our Zoom meeting with Robert from 5 Bugles, who was the new Mike Clark. And I think he understood what we were looking for, and they have asked if they could have until June 3rd to provide us with updated information. They wanted to look at some of the pricing. He did mention that right now with the COVID-19, the latest project they bid came in at $700,000 under budget, and a lot of that is just COVID related and people not being able to work. So we have been promised updated pricing information. We're going to look at if that building can move the 120 to 125 feet to the north and so many feet to the east to the right of way to get off of those footings. And all that information is to be provided to us by June 3rd.
Thank you, Becky. Yeah, just to follow up on that, during that discussion with Robert, I think his name is pronounced Kurzyanowski. That's what I got written down here. But, nowhere in the discussion did I hear, when we bring Mike Clark back on or something like that. So I got a feeling that Robert is going to be our go-to guy at this point. As Bill mentioned, he's going to just finalize the numbers for us. We told him that, because I think the same thing we told you at the last meeting, that this was figured to be a 2021 project so we could bid it early in the year. But we also wanted to have the potential to make it a shovel-ready project if by some strange happening, we get a bunch of money from the federal government through Iron Range Resources. As you know, we have this listed as one of our projects when Chris Ishmael asked us. Our hope is when he gets the numbers back to Bill on June 3rd, I think he said, that we would set up a Zoom meeting, let everybody meet Robert and ask all the questions. But I got a feeling he's the new Mike Clark. Very knowledgeable and seems to have his head on. And when we were talking about the, what was the term you used, Bill, to try to reduce the cost?
The value engineering?
Value engineering. He seemed to understand what we were saying, that, if we have to pay every penny of this building, we might have to look at ways to reduce it a little bit. So he understands that. To me, I thought he understood it a lot more than when I felt Mike Clark did, but I'm not going to badmouth him. I don't know what happened there. And so that's about it. Our plan at this point is get these numbers back so y'all have the numbers. We'll get them to you, and then we'll have a Zoom meeting. We'll get back up to speed. We're waiting for the legislature to see if they'll do anything for us in the meantime anyway. Sounds like they're going to try to get back together in June. Hopefully they give us a big pile of money and we can get ready to do this. But if not, yeah.
Thank you very much for the update.
Council, anything else? All right, move on. Bill, Valentini sewer repair bills.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, councilors, this is an item I spent an awful lot of time on trying to wrap my arms around what's transpired here. And so I'll summarize a number of conversations I've had with a number of people. And this all results from a project, an infrastructure project that the city undertook 20 years ago in 2020. There was the Main Street project, and there was 6-inch sewer lines and 4-inch sewer lines, and they weren't supposed to be different. They were supposed to be the same, so there wasn't a lip for sewage and the like to get caught on. And so I don't know initially what happened in the early 2000s. I do have a file here that was provided to me that there were 6 bills in 2015 that Northland Lining repaired. It was a lot less apparently a lot less extensive repair work than what was done at Valentini's. So there were 6 locations that the city paid. It's just over, on average, about $3,000, just over $3,000, about $3,200 a piece, where Northland Lining went in and apparently they're able to put some type of sock or some other mechanism that when you go from the 6-inch to the 4-inch, items do not get caught. So work was done in late 2015 to 6 buildings on Main Street. That was paid in 2016 to Northland Linings for that work. In the case of Valentini's, apparently with 20 years of buildup, the sewage or what have you, whatever backed up into their building under their basement floor, under the concrete. So with this repair, there are 3 bills. Latizzi Construction, $3,400. That was for the breakup and the removal of the concrete, and then the replacement of the concrete when the work was all done. Anderson Plumbing, I had to go in and repair the plumbing work under the concrete floor, and Northland Lining went in and did their thing that they've done with the other sewer lines for the $3,260, which is in line with what they had charged the other 6 buildings, or for the other 6 buildings back in 2015. So this went to the Public Utilities Commission at the meeting last week, and the Public Utility Commission unanimously approved recommendation of payment for the following bills to repair the sewer line at Valentini's. They're listed in your packet on page 46. Northland Lining, $3,260. Latizzi Construction, $3,400. Anderson Plumbing, $3,159, for a grand total of $9,819. With that, I'll entertain any questions.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
I remember when that all happened with those 6 other locations on Main Street. It was quite the fiasco. Anyway, I'll make a motion that we pay the $9,819 for the repairs at Valentini's for that sewer line repair.
Okay, is there a second for that?
Support.
Okay, let me add some input. Let me add some more to this. Because I probably know more about this situation than anybody, because I served on the council as a mayor back then. So the project was called the Turnback Project. It was when Highway 73, which used to go down our main street and across the lake. Actually, I guess it was 169, wasn't it? 169, because it used to be the old Buell Highway. In any case, the state did what's called a Turnback Project, and they basically gave us all the money to do that Main Street project. During that project, or shortly thereafter that project, we had a couple of businesses that had a backed up sewer. The NHS area were a couple of them, and I think the Gym Sports Club area were a couple of them. My father had been working for Benchmark Engineering at the time and inspected just one block of the main street, which is a City Hall block. It was actually two different projects. The same engineer, Benchmark was the engineer in the entire project, but for some reason it was bid as two different projects for whatever region, and there was a different contractor on the 200, 100, and 0 block, with basically Central Ave, actually all the way across and up to 3rd Avenue or 2nd Avenue. So there was a different inspector down there. After we started having problems, I asked my dad, I said, so why are we having problems down there? We're not having them on your area. And he's told me that the engineer that designed the project and told them as inspectors how they wanted the project installed, told them to push these 4-inch pipes all the way into what's called a Fernco until it stops. And my father told me that he told the engineer, I'm not going to do it that way because you're supposed to push it in and then pull it back so that it's past the corner in the Fernco so there wouldn't be a lip there. The engineer or the project manager on the lower 2 blocks didn't do it that way. I actually asked Margaret today how many minutes books there are since 2000, because I can tell you that right after the project, when NHS was done and some of Jim's buildings and stuff, that we had Benchmark pay for those projects because it was a design flaw the way it was installed. I was a mayor until 2006, and we didn't have any other problems, so it kind of just went away. There's probably motions from that back then that because I had a council that they were all older than me and old veterans, and you hear war stories about projects not being done right and stuff, and so we had some old gray-haired guys like myself back then, and so they wanted to make sure the city was covered, but unfortunately there was I left in 2006, and I think the problem started again in, like Bill said, 2015, 2016, and I obviously wasn't there anymore. So being on the Public Utilities Commission and knowing that it would be almost impossible to go back after the original engineering firm at this point, who's not even an engineer for a city anymore, that I just recommended to them at that point after telling them that story that there's not a lot we can do other than support our businesses here. So fortunately, we didn't pay for the whole project ourselves out of our own pocket. It makes it a little bit easier to handle. So that's the whole story. That's everything I know. If there's no other comments, we do have a motion in support to pay the bills.
I have a comment.
Yeah, me too.
I have you can name the business, you can say City Hall, I wouldn't care. If a problem takes 20 years to come, that should not be the city's responsibility to fix it. I don't care which business it is. It could be Valentine's, it could be Jimmy Sucho's haircut place. I don't care. That doesn't seem like I would like to actually set up a meeting with the PUC about this. That's a lot of money for one business.
Brian, you're on with us. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I've looked at this issue back when I first started with the city.
We're having trouble hearing you.
That help at all?
Yep.
Okay. I looked at this issue once in the past when I had first started or was first brought on with the city, and it's a difficult issue, and really it becomes one of perhaps the issue can be resolved by trying to adopt or formulate a policy as to how these situations, if they present themselves again, could be rectified. I mean, ultimately, there's a couple of different issues at play here. There's number one, taking care of the businesses that have run into issues because of a city project, a turnback project. And number two, there's the idea that at this point, there's a good potential that the statute of limitations on potential claims would have run. And so, there's a potential, well, I shouldn't say potential, it's very likely that if someone were to pursue a claim against the city and say file a lawsuit, the city could come into the courthouse and say, well, the time that you had to file that lawsuit is now past, because it's my understanding, at least, that a lot of these businesses had knowledge that these issues exist, and for purposes of bringing lawsuits to litigation, once you know that you have the right to a claim, your claim is done what's called accrued, and then the time period that you have to bring that claim starts to run.
So basically, we'd be throwing good money at bad money, and if we're paying these bills, we're doing this out of the goodness of our heart.
I think there's a good argument that could be made to that effect. The flip side is there is some past precedent that certain of these bills have been paid in the past, although I haven't seen any that have been paid that were quite this large.
I guess if I could add a comment when appropriate.
Go ahead, Jim.
Go ahead, Jim.
Steve Erickson and I were the two that were involved back in 2015 to research this and bring recommendations and findings back to the council for their actions. As a part of those recommendations that came from Steve and I thought it got adopted, but I don't know if it's a formal policy or what, but in looking back at the minutes, what had been recommended at that point for any future claims of a similar nature, the claimant had to come to the city and indicate the nature of the problem such that it could be researched, brought to the city council before a determination would be made as to if or how much the city council or the city would be willing to reimburse them for the expenses therefore. I don't know if it ever got adopted as a formal written policy, but I know it was in our letters of recommendations back in 2015, 2016. And in fact, I think this one was brought forward to Mandy, but she wasn't familiar with, the processes and procedures. This was a first time new for her, and so they evidently had approached her and so forth, to my understanding.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well, Jim, that, this is the first time she heard about it, so when they brought it to her attention, she wasn't aware that they expected us to pay, so that's understandable. Travis, did you have something to add as well?
Yeah, so I have a couple of issues with it. One is the fact that it's already done before it came to us, so it's really tied our hands to either pay it or not pay it instead of have some options or research it like Jim said. And then the other part that I struggle with is the 20 years later part. And then what's not to say that next week, Casey Drug, they have a sewer backup. Now, are we going to pay for them too? So I got precedent. We talk about precedent a lot. And I got a precedent issue with it, and I also have a 20-year issue, and then the fact that it's done before it even came across us.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
It was probably done under an emergency situation, so I'm sure it's kind of hard to get approval from the council when they're trying to run a business and they have a restaurant full of people. Just saying. I don't know. I'm not going to rescind my motion. I'm going to leave it as it is.
Travis, I'd just like to comment on that too. Believe me, that's why one of the reasons we have different engineering firms now, things like this happen. You go look at projects, you see things you don't like. When you do, take them seriously, because when you look back, I can look back at this one and, it happened during my time here. We knew it was a problem. I don't know if there was something I could have done different back then, but I knew there was some front page discussions about it because there were some repairs done. And I believe if I was to go back and pull the minutes books from 2001 or whenever, that first year after that, we would actually find motions made and stuff. But like you said, you get 20 years down the road, it's just, you're throwing good money at bad money, and you don't want to leave somebody like Valentini's hanging with this bill, especially now. I agree with you. It should have come to us ahead of time. I think, however, I think we'd be having the same exact discussion. We can still deny it, and Brian can try to defend it, and then if he wins, we never pay another one. But, you know, I would tend to lean towards trying to help the businesses myself.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with helping businesses. I'm just saying, you know, 20 years, are we 100% certain that that's the cause? I mean, I'm just saying 20 years is a long time to pay a bill, especially a $10,000 bill. And I'm all for helping businesses. I'm just saying the next one that comes down the road, if it does, we're going to help them too, I hope.
Oh, I would say you're right on that.
Again, Mayor.
Yes, Jim.
Travis, I agree with you, and that was why Steve and I had come forward with that recommendation that the city staff had to be approached such that we could take something to the city council to determine what, if any, portion of that we were willing to pay. You know, so there could be some negotiations, and we had to be aware of it before the work actually got done. So I completely agree with where you're coming from, and it's also that statute of limitations item.
So we do have a motion and support to pay the bill. If there's no other discussion, we'll take a vote on that.
So I have another question or a comment. Bill, did you say the average bill was about 32 or 3,300 for the other 5 or whatever it was?
There were 6, Jim. It was like 18,800, so it was like 6150 a bill. But that was only Northland Lining. The other 2 contractors, apparently, when that work was done in 2015, the basement floors didn't have to be dug up and plumbing replaced. It was just strictly the whatever Northland Lining does to repair or put that, it was explained to me like they put a sock over it so items don't catch on that lip. But that was a total paid, actually it was paid, the work was done in 2015, it was paid in 2016. So it was just over $3,000 on average for 6 different locations.
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, is it possible that we go back with offering them that average money towards this bill? That's an average, right?
Yeah, I think we paid actuals on everybody else's, but they probably varied a little bit. And if they
Mayor, if I can comment again, please.
Yep.
Basically, with the 6 that I was aware of back in 2015, a 4-inch service had gotten brought up to, well, the right-of-way line, which is the front of the building. And in virtually all of those cases on those 6, Northland Lining was able to, they broke up a little bit of floor just inside that wall. So it was a matter of just a few feet, and would put in a clean out there where they would tie into the 6-inch that was inside the building, put a clean out right inside that front foundation wall, and then all they had to do was extend probably 3 or 4 feet of 4-inch PVC from that clean out, just the new one they put in just inside the wall, to that 4-inch that was just outside the wall. So there was very little or very minimal tearing up of the basement. I didn't really see the bill now from Valentini's, but what little I did see, it looked like there was quite an extensive removal of the basement floor, but I don't know the details of it. Thank you.
Hey, Jim?
Yes.
Jim, do you know, no, Jim Johnson.
Sorry.
Do you know, or maybe Mayor Champa, do you know, did they video? Is there any camera recording of the damage or anything like that?
Not that I am aware of, Travis. I was quite frankly disappointed when I started doing the research, because it's pretty basic in engineering that most commercial buildings have at least a 6-inch minimum sanitary sewer service. And when I went back and reviewed the plans and specifications and was looking for change orders and so forth, only 4-inch services, T's or Y's, were bid, and there wasn't even any change order that came through that would have upped those to a 6-inch, which should have 6-inch should have been the standard, in my opinion. So, in fact, on a lot of our projects now, we actually put in a 6-inch, and because we're not sure if the house services are 4-inch or 6-inch, but once we get to the property line, we don't create the bottleneck of going from a 4-inch or, you know, a 6-inch coming out of the house, and then we bottleneck it down to 4-inch. We actually go the opposite way, and hopefully ours is 6-inch to the property line, and then tying into either a 6-inch or a 4-inch, a smaller one, going back to the house. Thank you.
Okay, we do have motion and support to pay the bill.
Before you vote, can I, Councillor Campbell, would you consider if we asked Valentini's if they had a recording done before they had their payments and the repairs done, that we could have Jim Johnson and them look at, because I'm really on the edge here.
Yeah,
Mandy may have knowledge of that. I'm sorry.
Jim Johnson, did you go down and look at that job by chance?
No, this all came about after our pandemic in March. Mandy has much more information on this specific one than I do.
Mandy, anything you can add to the conversation?
There was not a recording. By the time they were aware of it, it was actually failing so bad it was flooding their basement. So they don't have a recording of it. It was an emergency repair that was done.
And I'm sure they were in dire straits trying to get their business open. I mean, I don't know. We already have a motion and a second. Let's vote on it.
Was this during the COVID start?
The work was not done during the COVID, no. It was done before. Yes. So they were open and running their business during this time.
So they were open and running a restaurant with a broken sewer line.
It was all in the basement.
I'm sure they weren't knowingly running their business. They were trying to get it fixed so they could open.
Yep.
Well, we do have a motion. I'm just concerned that we're going to set this new precedent, and we're going to have homeowners coming in to City Hall wanting us to pay their bills.
They already set the precedent by paying prior bills already for this job.
Not at $10,000.
No, they require these kind of services, the kind of repair that this one did.
Yep. Margaret, could you take a vote, please?
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Nay.
Counselor Vaki.
Nay.
Counselor Varda.
Nay.
Counselor Campbell.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion fails. Any recommendation for a motion from the council? I have one recommendation, but it's kind of unrelated. So do we have a motion to recommend doing something different before we would pay the Valentini's bill?
I have a recommendation. Maybe we split the bill with them.
Pay half of it.
I guess I would like I think that I don't disagree with Tracy. I think that Jim Johnson and Paul David and Bill should sit down and talk about this and come up with a figure. I mean, if we pay $3,000 some, maybe he'll accept that. Maybe he'll only accept half, but I think that three of them should sit down.
Hey, Travis, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said you were kind of on the fence and you were hoping to get a video or pictures. So, I mean, you looking for video of the damage to the basement, or do you want video of the pipe? To show
I guess for me, I was hoping that they had taken a recording, so then our city engineer could look at it and say to me, yeah, that's definitely a stem from when the project happened. This is similar to what we saw with pool gyms.
Okay.
But you can't say that, and I agree. 20 years is a long time.
So I'm texting right now with Paul Moreno, and Dave Thronson from the Lining Company does have video of the pipe. So I will make a motion that we table this until our next council meeting, when our city engineer can get with Dave Thronson or Mandy Galley or whoever wants to do it, and they can look and see where they believe the damage was caused from.
I'll second that.
So we do have a motion to table this item. In a second for that, I want to ask Brian a question before I take a vote to table this item. Brian, I would like to actually recommend as part of this that we actually pass a motion similar to what Jim Johnson said, that anything in the future, they have to get prior notification from the city with cost estimates and stuff going forward, like Jim had recommended. If we table this item, can I ask for that motion after? Is that it's kind of unrelated, related but not unrelated.
Absolutely, Mayor. If this matter is tabled, I can try and put together. I could work with Mr. Manny and with Mr. Johnson, put together a policy that the city could formally adopt by resolution at next meeting.
Okay, Councilor Campbell, would you amend your motion to table this item and direct attorney to put together a policy for prior approval for any future repairs for anybody?
I seconded it. It was Adam's motion.
Okay.
I will amend my motion.
I'll amend my second.
Okay, Margaret, could you take a vote to table this item? Brian, we do need a vote to table, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilor France.
Aye.
Councilor Fountain. Aye. Councilor Baki.
Aye.
Councilor Varda.
Aye.
Councilor Campbell.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that item is tabled. Point committee for campground. Bill, I'll let you start and then I'll add to whatever.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, this came about, Public Works Supervisor Folstead, Deputy Clerk Zaw, and me met, and we're working on getting funds receipted. The Lockens have been great to work with, taking in money, and we've been putting things in order, and Larry Folstead and his crew have been doing a great job, and Eileen brought up the fact that we should probably have a committee, and I agree. And the recommendation would be 2 members from the City Council, Deputy Clerk Zaw, Public Works Supervisor Folstead, and myself to manage and run the campground, because there are many components to running a business. I look at this is now a city business to be run. And there's everything from promotion to maintenance to the accounting work and online work for setting up credit card payments and reserving space. There's a lot of different components. Larry Folstead mentioned earlier, we have firewood coming in, and there's just a whole lot of moving parts with running any business, let alone a campground. And so in the best interest of the city, it's administration's recommendation that we establish a committee to formulate policies, procedures for the overall management of the campground.
Are you looking? Yeah, I think I'll make a motion to form a campground committee for the campground.
Do you have a recommendation for our 2 council people?
Well, I guess I'd like to be one if that's okay, since I've been involved with it from the start.
I would also like to be involved if nobody else wants to fight me for it, but I know I really have a lot of great ideas for up there, and I'm willing to put the work in, and unless somebody else on the council would like to take that position, I would definitely love to.
I'm fine with it.
Councilor Felton.
With you for it.
What'd she say? Go for it.
I said I'd like to fight you for it.
You want to be on the campground committee, eh?
I think that'd be fun. I love landscaping. I love beauty. I love flowers. I love people. I think I would be a good asset on the campground committee.
Do we have a motion?
Well, kind of, sort of, but not really. How about we do this? The motion will carry us through 2020, campground committee through 2020, and give somebody else an opportunity next year.
Okay, so I'll make a motion for Travis and Adam for 2020 campground committee.
Actually, I will give April my seat. I did enough getting the campground bought. I guess that was my major victory. So April, if you want in on it, you got it. So if
I'll update my motion to include April and Adam on the 2020 campground committee.
I'll support that.
Any other discussion?
April, thanks everybody.
I'm just excited that people want to do this, because I think that's going to be a fun little project for us. So Margaret, could you take a vote, please?
Counselor Lance?
Aye.
Counselor Fountain?
Aye.
Counselor Baki?
Aye.
Counselor Varda?
Aye.
Counselor Campbell?
Aye.
Mayor Champa?
Aye. Okay, that motion passes. Joint meeting with school board. Bill, did you hear anything back at all from them?
Informational, Mr. Mayor. We have yet to hear back. As soon as we do, we'll get it on the agenda.
Okay.
Bill, before we move off this topic, I think it would maybe be beneficial for our group, Tammy, me, you, Jim, and whoever else was on that small committee, to get together before we have that joint meeting, so we can talk about, figures and numbers and things of that nature.
Well, we can sure do that. Okay.
Travis, I like that idea. I just, I don't, year and a half here, I really actually don't know how much time out of Larry's budget and things like that he usually he spends up there, dollar wise and stuff. So it'd be nice to see kind of a breakdown on that a little bit more. And Tammy's time and things like that for anything maintenance related on them facilities the city does. So.
Yeah, I think it's important to include the utility bills for up there too in that meeting.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
All right, so informational at this point, but yeah, the committee should get together, and prior to that, I believe, I agree. So we'll move on. Summer ice, we have a letter. Actually, when Bill brought it up to me, or somebody brought it up, I said we should get a letter from Ed so he'd get his opinion. We have that, but I'll turn it back to Bill.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, I did speak with Ed. We had a pretty good conversation. At that time, he mentioned that there were no arenas in the area that had or were providing ice. I see this afternoon that Councilor Lance sent me an email that apparently over in Virginia they're going to provide some ice. But Ed laid out his concerns about there's some currently there is some remodeling work taking place. The budget, the cost of putting in the ice and having to run the heat the whole time. I think what he's saying, he has to run the heat, otherwise it'd be like it was raining in the building. I do know in the short time that I was here, when that plant gets started up, there's repairs. There are holes in some of the piping for the brine in the floor, and so it's one of those things where, to me, the more you fire that thing up, the less time it's going to last. We know that we have a capital project in to do some work there. There's a couple $1 million of work that should probably be done, from fixing the floor to repiping to a new ice plant to a dehumidification system. to get that up to what a current ice arena is. And so, Mr. Chairman's recommendation was to, and plus they're working on potential cost savings with the LED lighting with Larry Folstead that could possibly take place this summer also, that could not take place with ice. So in addition to that, there's the COVID items where you can only have pods of 10 under the current restrictions that are in place. There can't be games, there can only be practices, is my understanding. And so when you take that all into consideration, it was Mr. Chairman's opinion that we should keep the arena closed for the summer and plan on starting the regular schedule in September.
Whose item was this? Travis, did you originally bring this up?
I do not think it was me. Maybe.
I asked about it. Sorry, Travis, I mean to. I had been asked about it by quite a few people. I got quite a few people from Hibbing calling and asking if we're going to be setting up ice. Obviously, I wouldn't be forcing Ed into doing something he doesn't think that he should be doing, that he feels comfortable doing, that he thinks that he can operate. But I do believe that the city is going to miss out. We could be renting that ice from 6 in the morning till 10 at night, figure skating, hockey practice. There's different guidelines to go by. If it's not in the cards, it's not in the cards. But I think that financially, I think we could turn a revenue on that. But
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
I have a question for Bill. Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, did we not get letters or I thought I saw something back in March from Ed that the arena was closed till September and all the skating clubs and everybody else were not going to have any skating this summer. Is that correct?
And that was basically because that's when the COVID, everything got shut down, and then they're normally not open in the summer. Another thing that comes into play here, this would probably be a non-issue if it wasn't for the COVID-19, because that's why Hibbing shut down, because the arena is the backup to the hospital. So they're not allowed to have ice in Hibbing. And another concern that I didn't mention that Ed had is the fact that the employees have other jobs during the summer, and to hire and train people would be another issue. I'm not doubting anything that Councilor Lance is saying. I think, that place probably could be full from 6 in the morning till 10 at night. It's just I don't think the cost benefit analysis is there. I think the cost is going to outweigh, especially if you're going to only have 10 people at a time, to generate enough revenue to pay the cost. I don't think it's going to be there.
Well, I'll support Councilor Lance. I agree. It's no secret that I think that thing is a gold mine. And I agree. I think that there's immense potential with that thing open year round. So I think it strongly needs to be considered, especially if we fix it.
So I just have a question. Is Ed willing to chat with Bill about maybe getting the the parents and the grandparents and family members that would like to volunteer so their kids or grandkids could have a little ice time, so it doesn't have to worry about hiring people?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
Who are we going to hire to monitor the 10 people at a time and everything else that's going on right now? Not that it's not going to get lifted sometime soon. I'm hoping it does, but I mean, with this pandemic going around right now, it's kind of hard to do anything.
That's what I have volunteers.
Right.
My concern is actually, what do you do at the end of August, or what do you do at the end of August if you did open it? Let's say you opened it for June, July, August. Come September, October, all of a sudden you're back just to night ice because everybody's in school again. And I think that's, and you don't want to take the ice out for 2 months. I think, when do we normally put the ice in? Ain't it in like October, or is it earlier? Maybe it is September, maybe.
End of August, Mayor. I talked.
Oh, it is. Okay, so we would overlap anyway. Actually, I think when I read through Ed's letter, it almost sounded like if things loosened up a little bit, he might consider it. Didn't he say that possibly July, August, if things change a little bit with some of these orders, it's possible?
I don't recall seeing that.
What he says, Mayor, is with the current budget, I cannot afford the cost of the utilities for running in July and August.
Okay.
So I did talk with Ed the other day also, you know, and like I said, I wouldn't try to force him into doing something he wasn't comfortable with doing. The employees is one thing, and he just said the temperature is another thing, you know, running the furnace to keep it from actually raining inside the building with the heat on the outside. So, you know, I think there are some issues, but this might be something for further down the line. You know, maybe it's too soon right now to try to open up in the middle of this pandemic. But I think, you know, in the future, we could be looking at, you know, summer ice, or if we update that building. Maybe this just isn't in the cards right now.
So you want to just move on?
Well, I just wanted to talk about it. You know, that's kind of when I brought it up last time. It's definitely not an action item, and, you know, unless somebody wants to try to force it into, you know, opening. But like you said, if we don't have employees to run it, Virginia is run by the city, so, you know, they have stipulations in place where 10 people per each half sheet of ice, including coaches. So you can actually get 20 people, you know, in an hour, but they have city employees to run it. You know, they're not looking for part-time help.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing on that, we'll move on then. Good discussion. Anyway, we got some information. So. First item under myself, resolution 0520-44, extend local emergency. Helps us get funding for expenses if they come around. So we're going to want to do this as long as we're under that, the governor's under, and the state's under the emergency, and we're going to want to stay.
I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 0520-44 to extend the local emergency.
Extend it to June 10th.
To June 10th.
So was there support for that?
Councilor Fulton.
Further discussion? Margaret, could you take a vote, please?
Councilor Lamb?
Aye.
Councilor Fulton?
Aye.
Councilor Baki?
Aye.
Councilor Varda?
Aye.
Councilor Campbell?
Aye.
Mayor Champa?
Aye. Okay, that motion passes. Next item. Most of you are Facebook friends with me, so you've seen my post. I was trying to get a gauge of how the community felt about trying to do something such as outdoor dining or possibly even closing the main street to try to help our businesses. Personally, I think we're a little way off from indoor dining. I think I almost don't know that I see this happening this summer, unfortunately. After I made that post, which probably got 60 likes on it from residents of the community, I reached out to the Chamber of Commerce and asked Shannon to email the Main Street businesses and ask them how they felt about, you know, my concept of outdoor dining, sidewalk dining, potentially closing the main street. I had exactly one business that serves food respond. Well, 5 businesses responded. I didn't ask them if I could use their comments, so I'll just. Business A said, well, I'm allowed to open now for my business and my customers will have to park farther away. But if you do this for the restaurants, I'd support it because I'm a community-oriented business. That was good. Another individual didn't say that much, but basically the same thing. They would be happy just to help the businesses. It might inconvenience them a little bit. The third one, a lot of elderly picking up prescriptions and stuff. I'll just so you know which one it is. Same thing, would be an inconvenience, but very supportive of doing it. One of the restaurants that did get back to me said they would continue doing curbside and delivery, but they wouldn't be interested in outdoor dining. I think that's pretty much it. I was actually very disappointed. I thought I would get more feedback, and I really don't know where to go with this. I asked Brian, our attorney, before the meeting. Brian, is there a way I could just say, hey, I'd like to just allow the businesses to put some tables out on the sidewalk and serve outdoors, and in 2 weeks when we come to our next meeting, we'll take a look at it. If some of them are doing it, maybe we can expand on it and see how that goes. I'll refer back to him here as soon as I'm done talking, but this is very difficult because you need to really talk about the exact space they're going to use so that it can be determined that they're falling within the governor's guidelines, things like that. Their insurance and their liquor license, they have to check with their providers, or I should say the insurance provider, to make sure it can be extended. Their food and liquor sales can be extended out into this makeshift patio we create for them and things like that. Brian suggested, maybe we, get the word out that would be interested in working with this, but a person would have to put together a plan for us. And if we have enough of them interested, we could have a special meeting and pass a resolution allowing them to do it. I'd like to do for them, but we really have to kind of know what they would like us to do in order to do it. Let me just turn it over to Brian to add the attorney part of this and, kind of understand what our discussion was then. Brian?
Thank you, Mayor. And this is probably delivering one of those opinions where I should apologize ahead of time. And Mayor, I think you made the right points, and part of the plan of getting our local facilities, restaurants, bars back up and running is that my opinion, at least, is that they've got to work with the city. We've got a couple of issues, a few less issues if you're just serving food, but if you want to start alcohol service, on-sale service, out front on the city sidewalks or in a detached or a separate portion of your property, even if it is private property, you got to come and talk to the city and get a plan in place. Issues become if you're going to be utilizing, say, a private parking lot that's set off from your property a little bit or separate from your property, you're going to have to approach the city about a catering permit, and those things have some certain restrictions to it. If you're going to be serving any type of alcoholic or adult beverages, you've got to look to make sure that the space that you plan to use, number one, is compact and contiguous to your space, or that you make provisions, and number two, if it in any way involves city sidewalks, public spaces, things that the city would be in control of, you've got to come and get permission from the city, and part of that permission is going to be demonstrating that your liquor liability insurance extends to the new space, that everybody's on board as far as your insurance is concerned, and potentially name the city as an additional insured if you're going to be serving outside in the public spaces. So there's a lot that needs to happen. The fact that the governor has loosened the orders up a bit to allow this to happen is kind of the first step. As a city, we've got to get together and work with our local establishments to make this happen. One of the big things that we may want to consider as a city is what type of system we'd like to implement to get these things, to get the plans in place. Two basic types: we could either do resolutions for each separate business, resolutions that address these issues, or if we wanted to amend or put some ordinances in place, we could make it an administrative process where they could simply come and fill out an application. It could be approved by the city without coming necessarily back to a council meeting. At this point, the ability to get one of those ordinance permitting systems in place is not going to happen. Ordinances will require 2 readings and publication and a lot of time. And so really, if our local establishments want to take advantage of this opportunity to get at least back up and running to a limited extent, I would strongly encourage them to communicate with the city, let us know what their plans are, and so we can work together. what I've heard from everyone I've talked to is that there's a lot of support for the businesses, but they've got to help us help them. And so if there's specific questions about the process or procedure, I'd be happy to try and answer those. But just as general observations, we need to get some plans in place before the city can sign off on allowing expanded use in the public space.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Campbell.
I did reach out to one business owner who runs a restaurant in town, and they pretty much told me it's more trouble than what it's worth. They don't have the tables, they don't have the canopies and the staff needed to set up and tear down every night. And what do you do about the weather? It's all weather permitted. You bring in a staff, and then all of a sudden it rains, and then what do? You got to pay these people, just so much. So the weather is so unreliable in our neck of the woods, and then they were concerned about the disruption of other businesses and what that would do to them too, not that I'm not for it, because I'm for anything to help these people, of course, but I just wanted to reach out and get some input from a business owner that runs a restaurant in town, and they were not at all for it at this time, I know. So I'm just sharing that with you.
All right. Yeah, like I said, if I get, Bill, did Marie join the meeting? Did she ever get on with us?
Yes, she did, Mayor.
Okay, so, maybe we'll hear from the community now. Like he said, that it sounded like listening to Brian. If somebody puts together a plan for us, we could allow them to, and all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. We could allow them to expand, even if it's just one business, by a resolution. So, maybe this conversation will be enough. Like I said, I'd love to help them. But I don't, like Brian said, they got to ask us to help them, I guess, because I don't know what to do to help them at this point. So,
Well, I have a question, and none of you are going to be surprised about this. What's to say we don't say summer-long citywide festival? Do it if you want. You don't have to do it.
So that's kind of where I was headed. I was just going to ask Brian, what if, what if we asked if they would consider like one weekend a month or something where we could get tables from the county fair or whatever, because, they have a bunch and they're not using them, and, put them out and block off the street, and call it a community festival. Is that even an option for us? That was going to be my question for Brian.
Thank you, Councilor. If I may, it's a possibility, it's a good potential, and it may create a circumstance where it's more feasible operation. Instead of opening every night, you got some set times where you could bring some folks in. A couple of things that we've got to remember when we're in the Minnesota Safety Plan, we're in phase 2, or we'll be moving into phase 2 as of June 1st. That's when restaurants can start some limited service. The couple of things I think with a city festival type model that we've got to keep in mind. Number one, under the phase 2 regulations that will be in place, it's for food and bar service, it looks like it's going to be by reservation, so we would have to do that. The other item that we would want to, two items that we would want to address. Number one, we would want to make sure that the setup that each establishment is going to create isn't going to overlap, so each establishment could theoretically have up to 50 patrons at a time by reservations, assuming they can space them appropriately, and that table sizes are limited. But at the same time, if you've got two establishments in close proximity and they both got 50 patrons, we've got to make sure that there's clear lines and separation between those. And at the same time, we're going to want to make sure that when we open it up that way, we're getting extensions of liquor liability to make sure that we're covered in the public spaces that are going to be utilized. So absolutely an option. And again, it's just one of those things that we would need to talk to the businesses to see if we can coordinate a plan that would work.
One thing that definitely we need to consider and take into account is, this sounds awesome and it would be great and lovely, but these outside seating is great if you have inside seating. If you can build off what you have. But, if a place like Valentini's was going to open and they had 3 tables outside, well, there's your 3 groups, and, it takes about an hour. They're going to bring in a server, a cook, a bartender, whoever to serve, 3 small groups for a few hours a night. We can't force them to do it. They got to see that there is potential. I think just that the companies, businesses in town know that we're on board to help them in any way possible. I think that should be enough as for right now.
Yeah, I think one of the things Travis brought up with the, if we get our hands on tables, so they're something like, picnic tables, so that they're not trying to drag their equipment outside. We got basically outdoor seating to help them out, might help. But yeah, I don't really, I was kind of excited that maybe this would work, and right now I really don't know what to do because it doesn't seem like anybody's that interested. So, I just expressed that I would do whatever I can do. I'd love to close 3 blocks every Friday night, fill it with picnic tables and open them up on Monday morning. The last thing the employees do when they leave is put up the barricades, and the first thing they do Monday morning is take them back down, and all the picnic tables that are along the side, we move them out into the street, but it isn't that easy. So it could be that easy if we all had a plan, or everybody gave us their plan what they would do. So,
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
I think let's wait to see who approaches us with what after this meeting comes out in the paper, and I think we're going to get around that we're supportive of them, and if they can approach us with a plan, that we would be willing to help them.
All right. Council, if there's nothing else, we'll move on. I think we beat that one up enough, and hopefully we do get some feedback. I'd like to do something to help them out. Let's move on to summer citywide drop-off. It's informational. Citywide cleanup, July 13th to July 17th. Drop-off only. City garage, let's see, what do we got? Items accepted, tires up to 24.5-inch diameter, with or without rims, limit 4. Appliances, remove doors from freezers, refrigerators. We'll take hot water heaters, stoves. Pretty much all the appliances are listed. Automotive batteries, lawnmowers. Little change this year. They were a little overwhelmed with some of this stuff, so we're going to do it at a reduced price. Unless council wants to overrule, I guess we could change it. This is a recommendation from the PUC, but cost a lot of money to get rid of some of this stuff last year because we had such big items. So television, electronic type of stuff, mattresses, box springs, and like chairs and sofas, they're all going to be $5 a piece. I believe TVs are as high as $15 depending on size. Mattresses, I think, are 12, and chairs are 10 normally. So it's quite a bit of a reduction. You bring demo waste, non-hazardous trash. Yeah, so that's what the gist of it. July 13th to July 17th, 7 to 3:30 Monday the 13th, Wednesday the 15th, and Friday the 17th, 7 to 7 on Tuesday the 14th and Thursday the 16th. City Garage, 35 East 3rd Street. Informational, unless council wants to overrule the PUC and reduce the prices, it's more, or raise them.
In the packet, my price says $5 for TVs and mattresses and stuff. Doesn't say anything about 12 or 15.
No, I was just quoting normal prices, Jim.
Oh, okay.
Like if you were to do it today, they were, I think it was 15 for a TV, 12 for a mattress, and 10 for a lazy boy. So that's, but there'll be 5 during this, so reduced cost.
Mayor Camp, a question.
Yes.
Maybe somebody in the group can help me out. What's a VCR?
Yeah, okay, Larry.
I apologize to the ones that can't see my face there, but it's all.
Well, Larry,
if you notice his gray, you notice his gray hair on top of my head, I do know what one is.
And the shares. All right, thank you.
All right, so that's informational.
I have a question for Larry.
Go ahead, Councilor Varda.
What was the cost last year, Larry, for these things?
Oh my God, I don't remember. You know, frankly, I do know what VCRs are. I'm just joking. Minister Annie, I assure you I'm joking. Yeah, I actually think VCRs are free. There's no ballast or anything in them, I don't believe. So those are free, but honestly, I think Mayor Champa was pretty correct on the TVs. There's a scale for the bigger ones and the smaller ones. I want to say it's like 20-inch up and above and below. The mattresses was what really killed us last year, was the big deal there. But I honestly, it's been a while since I've bought one in Alberta, so I really share, to be honest with you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
I'm kind of glad that we're allowing people to take advantage of this program. I'd rather have them drop them off and they only pay $5 versus throwing them out in the woods. I'm sick of seeing that kind of stuff going on, because that happens a lot.
I would agree.
Definitely. Wasn't it free last year?
I think it was.
It was free. But like I said, they had, when Larry started talking about the hundreds and hundreds of dollars it cost him to haul these mattresses to Duluth, we got to haul them to Duluth. That's why the PUC decided to put a little price on them. It's, council can change this if you want. We can reprint this thing. It don't start till July 13th. So, it's obviously part of our PUC budget anyway. So if, so nobody wants to make a motion, we'll move on. All right, July 13th to July 17th. Everybody get your stuff hauled in. All right, we'll move on. Filing for Chisholm City Council. We have just one person signed up so far. Councilor Vaki has reapplied. There's 2 other openings, so we'd love to. Boy, last time we must have 20 people, so a lot of good candidates last time that didn't get in, and we'd like to see you back again. So deadline is 5 p.m. on June 2nd, which is what, next Tuesday, I think? Which is next Tuesday, so yeah, we'd love to have some applicants there to help us out. I don't know what we do if we don't have them. We extend it, I guess.
Hey,
so that's him.
Bill, is someone going to be at City Hall at 5 p.m.?
Yes, we will be here. That's why we have all the phone numbers listed, the emails listed. We will be here till 5 p.m.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Bill, should I read this thing? Would it be important? Is this information that people may not know?
What page are you talking about?
I don't know, it's just the page 61, basically. Either one, they're both the same pretty much. I just was wondering, basically you got till June 2nd at 5 p.m. 254-7903 or email Christy at ci.chisholm.mn.us. Three council members, 4-year terms, $2 filing fee. All right, informational. We'd love to have some people apply. 3 openings, only 1 applied so far. Please don't wait till the last second. We're in a tough time here, so it's going to be it's time consuming the way it is. So,
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Bill.
Just to let everybody know, if you have questions, the notices are posted with City Hall currently being locked due to COVID-19. These notices are posted on doors 1 and 2 of City Hall. So if you want to stop and look, or the numbers are there to call, the email is there. If you have any questions, come and look at the door at City Hall, call us. We'll help out in any way we can to get anybody that wants to run, we'll get you filed.
Thank you, Bill. All right, informational. Another informational item, Central Iron Sanitary Store District, a little bit about what I said earlier. a big problem with flushing these wet wipes, disinfecting wipes and stuff. And obviously because of the COVID, it's there's some additional issues it's causing with a lot more people doing disinfecting and everything. So try to keep them in the garbage and not in the sewer system. We would appreciate it. Pump repairs cost a lot and they affect your sewer rates when the budget goes up out there. So,
And Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
Not everybody watches our meetings or reads our papers. Is there any kind of a flyer we can stick into the PUC bill with bullet points as to why not to flush these wipes down the toilets and with all the havoc it's causing on our sewer systems? Because everybody gets a PUC bill and they open the mail, and maybe they'll be more aware if they were to read it, you know, just trying to help, you know, a little bit.
Yeah.
Would that be too much trouble?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Campbell, we could do that, except for, the next 2 months, we're going to have the front and back of a additional flyer in the PUC bill. One will be the citywide cleanup. The other one will be the select a cart for the new garbage system. So the next 2 months, both sides of the flyer, if we go above that, it dramatically affects the postage rates. So we would be able to do that, say like in August, but the next 2 months we're going to be jammed up.
I'm just thinking about the costly repairs it's costing the sanitary sewer district. You know, what's postage compared to those kind of repairs? I guess you got to weigh the price on that. I don't care.
Hey, Bill, is there room on, I thought I had one of my PUC bills here, but is there a spot on there where you, like right in the on the PUC bill where you could put a note in dark highlight or something that says, note, please avoid flushing disinfectant wipes or something?
Mr. Mayor, there's a spot on there. I don't know about highlighting it, but there is a spot on there where you can put a note. So we can look into that.
Yeah, that at a minimum, while we're getting through all these other notices, people are more likely to read that anyway. All right, so we'll move on. Thank you for that suggestion, Councilor Campbell. All right, so this last item here tonight, scheduled working session, 3rd Street Northwest project, potentially June 3rd. Let me give you some background on this. You might know some of it already. I went down to that 3rd, 4th Street project area. If you recall, there's a sanitary sewer district that basically goes under the corner of a house. Larry is extremely concerned about it. He's gone as far as to tell me if that thing plugs up, we have no other option but to plug or to basically pump sewers and run it to a sewer plant 24 hours a day until we do dig it up and fix it. I met him down there to kind of, from my own sense, to try to get an idea of what that project consists of. And as crazy as this sounds, one of the best options we have, because that pipe goes underneath a house, and there is a yard right next to that house, we determined that our best option and possibly the least expensive option would be to actually purchase sorry about that, I was getting a call, I didn't know if I was still talking, would be to actually purchase the house, create the utility easement through there, put the utilities through that yard between 3rd Street and the alley between 3rd and 4th, and then resell the house. It's such an elaborate plan that I thought we should maybe get the council down there for a 15-minute, half-hour special meeting. Let them walk us through this plan, what's recommended at this point between Jim Johnson and Larry, and then bring it back to our council meeting on the 10th. And that's why I kind of thought June 3rd. So we get to go down there, take a look at it, and that way when we can have a real discussion on June 10th. I believe that project has to be done this year. I think we'd be crazy to not do it with the concerns we have with that pipe there. And bringing that pipe across to the alley between 3rd and 4th Street also reduces a lift station we'd There's also some room for there's some empty lots along the north side of that alley that would basically be on 4th Street. You might remember some of that in our plan if we had enough money to do 4th. So, Jim, do you want to add to that at all? I think I tried to highlight it as much as I could.
No, you did a fine job. I was just going to suggest probably the best place to meet when we establish a time, and if you want to do it next Wednesday, but probably right there at 8th Avenue, which is basically where the pavement ends and the gravel starts. It's right down in that area.
So, Council, my intention would be to bring this project to the June 10th meeting. Reason for the June 3rd would be for everybody to see it, but I think, it's, I think a lot smarter money to do it this way than to do lift stations and everything else. So, and I don't, trying to get a utility easement and everything through this yard, we got to do crazy stuff like pay to have the trees removed and everything that are in the way. And I think the plan really is, and the individual that owns the house would like to sell it and move. I think he has a relative or something that wants him to come move in some other state or something. So,
Mayor, just one more comment, Jim.
Yep, go ahead, Jim.
In setting this up, if the council before that work session, if they would just review the feasibility study, and then just a couple of weeks ago there was an addendum which is alternative number 4, and what we're talking about really is alternative number 4, but if they would just quickly review the feasibility study and that alternative 4, it'd be very helpful and would speed up our process. Thank you.
Is that I would comment, Mayor Ciampa, too. I think it's great to be able to meet down there and actually just ask the questions, take a look at the area, and understand that they allowed somebody to build over our sewer line that services the whole area so many years ago, and what we're up against right now. So I cannot express, it was nice to have you down there and to show you, okay, this is where this is at, this is where this is at. The sewer line runs right under that house, and this is where we need to go. And a lift station is 100 years of maintenance. And it was really great. It was, and I think that's, when you talk about $1 million or more, $1.25 or whatever the project is, there's been so many numbers thrown around. I apologize, Jim. Jim knows those numbers off the top of his head, but it was just amazing to be able to just in 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And then it's just really clear what we have to do to serve those.
Yes, Councilor Campbell.
Okay, what do we need? A date and a time to meet? Is that what we want on next Wednesday?
That would be my thought. Maybe, I don't know if you guys want to eat dinner first, 6 o'clock even. I don't care.
I'll make a motion for 6 o'clock next Wednesday, meet at 8th Avenue and 3rd Street Northwest.
Okay, is there a second for that?
Second.
Any other discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Rocky.
Aye.
Counselor Varda.
Aye.
Counselor Campbell.
Aye.
Mayor Ciampa.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes.
Thank you.
3rd, 6 p.m. Miscellaneous items before we adjourn?
Will there be an email sent to remind us about that special meeting?
Yes.
Good. I'm going to forget.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We're probably going to have a somewhat of an agenda anyway, because we're going to have to take a roll call while we're there and, have a real start of the meeting and a real adjournment with votes anyway. So we'll have Bill just take notes at the thing or whatever. So Councilor Campbell made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second for that?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? All right, this meeting is adjourned. Everybody have a good night, good week. We'll talk next Wednesday, if not sooner.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.